これで。よし。1日2本配信しちゃうよーん。ああ。よし。
もちもち、なんか始まってくさ。
ザ・スタンレー・パラボーですよ。俺もよくわからん。やっていきましょう。選択で運命を選ぶ。
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He'd never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever.
ナレーションがイケメンなんだよな。
Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
てこ、生きがい。
生きがいに来たー。お、戻った。まあなんか、こういうなんか細かい選択でいろいろ変わってくらしいですね。会議室に行く。連絡のメモ見渡して、会議室がどこなんだろう。こっちかな。ビビー。はいはい。どこだ？こっちか。道なり行ってみよう。とりあえず。
確かに。
左のドアに入りました。つぼげナレーションみたいだね。本当にそう。おう、会議室は。
Yet there was not a single person here
誰もいないや。
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
会議資料っぽいな。ドゥドゥ。はいはい。お、しまった。で、上か下か？
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
これ、従わないとまたなんか怒られるのかな？下ると？なんか明らかに違いそうなとこ来たな。
But Stanley just
なるほどね。ナレーションが。
Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
確かに出社しててトイレとかから戻ったらいきなり全員消えたらビビるよな。
None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
おわ、すげえ。
I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back.
いや、こんな夢見たら怖いよな、実際。
I may
同
have
じとこぐるぐるぐ
enjoyed
る
this
ぐる
while I'm still lucid.
怖す
So,
ぎる
he
な
imagined himself flying and began to gently float above.
ああああ浮いた浮いた浮いた浮いた浮いた浮いた
Soaring through
浮いた浮い
space
た
on a magical star field, and it too appeared.
Oh.
It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he
確かに
remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered
面白い
Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything
ああ
that
ナ
I'm
レ
doing
ーター
and
っていうか
thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by
私が
Stanley.
考えたことを
who
話す
found
ことに
it
ついて私が考えたことを
particularly
話す
strange.
目を私は見ているのか
Dreaming about a voice
確かに自
describing
分が
me,
考えたことを
thinking about
脳内
how it's
再生イ
describing
ケボで
my
脳内再
thoughts.
生される夢は嫌だな
And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that of
気
course
狂うな
this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this
Mira.
was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that?
まあ
This
夢だよ
voice was
な
a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in
明晰
control,
夢ってやつね
that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
ああ夢だっ
He
た本
felt
当
the
に
cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself.
Let me wake up
I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
お目が覚め
Stanley
た
began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am
ああ夢じゃない
real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
怖っ怖っ
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
スタンリーじゃなくてマリーラになった
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had
幻覚
stumbled
見たって
through
こと
town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal.
まあ言い方悪いけどね変な人見るとねまともでよかったって思う
I
自
know
分はいるよ
what
ね
is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled.
会議の予定まさか
The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down
まあ
at the
会議
body,
遅れならしゃあないか
and then she turned and ran.
振り向かず行けああそういうエンディングはいでまたやり直しと
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my
会議室行こうか
senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on
ナレーションの言う
his
こと聞いてみようちゃんと最後まで
Yet there was not a single person here
狂っ
either.
てしまうからな
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
ここか。おー、いいオフィスだ
Stepping
な。
into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover
ピアノがある
an
んだな、ちゃんと。
indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad,
2845だよな。
Stanley happened to input the correct code.
なるほど、びっくりした。
Amazing. He stepped
よかっ
into
たよ
the
かった。
newly opened passageway.
通路に足を。あ、そっちか。足を踏み入れました。おお、真実が隠されているのか。ロールが入って。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
明らかになるでしょう。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large
Mind
door that
control
read
factory.
Mind Control Facility.
エスケープがあるけど、まあ従おう。うわ、なんだこれ。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with
うわ
television
あ、
screens.
すげえ部屋
What
だ。
horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
秘密
Did
を
he
暴
have
く
the
こと。
strength to find out?
押してくのか。あ、あった。
Now the monitors jumped to life.
うわ
Picture revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen.
ええ
One of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe
恐ろしい
it
よな。
couldn't be true.
生活監視されるのは
Had Stanley really been under someone's
嫌だよな。
control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
操作された。
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own
信じたくはない
life
よ
in
な。
someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad
that's all right.
or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this
やば。
place.
マ
And
ジ
as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
確かにね。
For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. 押したらやばそうだな。無力化したいね。でもスタッツオフラインになってるからいいんじゃないの？スタッツがオフラインになってる。これはなんだっけ？コンソールディセーボード。
はいはいはい。押してみるこのでかいボタン怪しげな。あ、これランプか。これはこれってやばいかな。あ、大丈夫か。ファシリティパワー。コンソールのある部屋だ。
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
オフと。でどういうエンディング
？Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes.
Oh.
He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away.
やったね。
And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking,
おー、
but
外
happiness.
出られんの
Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it
お
will
ー、
be
出られんのかな
his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things
操られた時は終わったのね。
and Stanley was happy.
Stanley was happy. うん、シンプルエンディングね。お、戻ってきた。
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his
最初見たや
responsibility?
つか。
He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
なんか一瞬止まったのが悪かった。あ、なってる、でも。これか。
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
うん。何を言ってるか分からなかった。 開かないんだ。
When Stanley came to a set of two
右の部屋
open
でって言ってみ
doors,
る？
this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it
ああ、
perfectly
なるほど
well.
ね。従業員ラウン
Perhaps
ジ
he
が。
wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his
廊下の
left.
難しいね。
左側にある最初のドアを選ばなかったとなる。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
アスペルート。怖すぎだろ、これ。落ちんの？ああ
But in his eagerness to prove that he was in control of the story and no one was to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
マジ
Good
か。
job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
はいはいはいはい。じゃあ自殺しないルートね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
びっくりしたー。まあ、あれでじゃあ、あれ、ジャンプしないで。カゴってかあれ乗ってみよう。エレベーターみたいなの。右入って、
Stanley came to a set of two open
まあ、マインドコントロールのボタン
This was not the
オ
correct
ン
way
も
to
ち
the
ょっと
meeting
見たい
room,
けど
and Stanley
ね。
knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years
これ乗
ago.
ってみよ
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
う。え、こ
I
う。
realize that
ああ、びっくりし
investing
た。
your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem
彼女の
yourself.
迎えに行きましょ
To put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
う。う、
That's her, Stanley.
怖すぎる。え
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
おお
Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
ああ、
All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
おお怖えびっくりした
Cha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something.
Hi.
Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
こっち行ったとある
Sorry.
うわーびっくりしたもう怖えこのゲームはいはい今の物語の中にいるよね
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named
死につい
Stanley.
てのとても悲しい物語ね
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
おもちもち、草。
押さなかったとある間違ったりとかしたら
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do.
俺のこと
Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions.
ネタバレやん。先に見ない方がよかったね。
The Stanley Parable.
スタンリー
It
の
was
空が
such a
ね。
wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
One more time.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
従わなかったらどれぐらい待てばいいんだろう。5年ぐらい待つか。びっくりしたな、マジで。ホラーゲームかよ、これ。待つよ。ツイッターでも見よう。これ揺れてるんじゃなくて僕が今マウス動かしちゃいました。絶対に従わんからな。5分待つよ、マジで。ノババックス製ワクチン。厚労省が1億5000万回分契約。元 AKB ラーメン店主。ラーメンオタクの男性を提訴へ。元バイト AKB のラーメン店主、梅沢、なんて言うんだろう。まゆかか。まゆかさんが山口組など反社組織との関係を推奨され、仕事の取引を打ち切ることになりました。として男性を訴えることになりました。ひでえ嘘だな。よかれと思ってやったなどと釈明しました。いつまで待っちゃいい？まだ待つよ。マジで。10時5分まで待ちます。恐ろしいな。恐ろしいやつもいるな。ライスシャワーがトレンドなんだけど。見たいな、早く。日本にもあるメートルや株式会社などの1文字のね、ような組文字。中途のパソコンに存在するという超複雑な文字。中途にもあんの。預言者と。
他のボタンを押すとかでもないの？
うん。なさそう。まあ、5分まで待つよ。河野太郎がツイッターブロックについて言ってる。政治的発言はまずいか。 俺が仮に5年後とかめちゃくちゃ有名になったら怒られそうだな。ゼータウィン2021。まあ、ゼータな、関裕太のとこね。世界大会、なんかで世界大会出たんだ。ゼータディビジョン。5分になったね。押します。
You see? Can he just not hear me?
そういう話かふざけんなよ。
Every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself. How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
怖っ。怖すぎねこのゲーム。やば。
How long was I sitting there?
じゃあ会議室右行って会議室向かうルートにしようか。
Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be
怖すぎだろ。
when Stanley came to
マ
us
ジでよ。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace, its subtle, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
まあ、通ろうか。
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door,
これ
and
は
got back on track.
あれだよな。こっち行ったらどうなの？これが左のルート行った時のあれか。繋がってんだな。会議室で。
Yet there was not a single person
これした？
here either.
閉
Feeling
め
a
た。
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
ああ、上司の部屋でパスワード間違えルートもあんのか。パスワード間違えてみっか。下行ったら幻覚エンドだもんな。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Boss's office。え？エグゼキューティブバスルーム。To be rich is a crime? ああ、金持ちになるために犯罪を犯すの？ The commit crimes isn't it rich? リッチは、金持ちは犯罪をコミットしないの？ What a life it will be to have to pick just one. 何をピックすりゃいいの？手に手を取るってこと？パンダだ。上行ってみよう。てかやばっ！こんな分岐すんの？ズンズンズンズンズンズンズンズン。陽気な BGM だな。 2、3、4。下押したら止まった。帰ってきた。もう一回乗って上押してみていい？上押したらBGM なるだけもしかして揺れて。下は結構帰ってくるのか。諦めるか。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 28. Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct 2845. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in. The door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
ウケるな、お前な。これ今打ったらどうなんだろう。関係あるかな。変わんないか。ゴールしたね、結局。でもこのエレベーターとあのエレベーター違うか。びっくりした。これいつ見てもビビるわ。なんか右ルートで通った時のエレベーターとこれは違うか。エスケープしようか、じゃあ。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. Stanley thought better of it, and nope, still on board with death.
ウケるな。何かできるの。やめれんな。さすがにここまで。
おもちもち、記憶にあらず。
記憶にあらず？あれ？記憶ない？右ルート行ってさ、一番最初で左曲がったとこにあったエレベーター。
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
天の弱面白い。天の弱のためのゲームだな。でもこれが俺がさっき聞いたやつか。遠いけど頑張ろう。
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
死だと分かっていても死んだ？怖え、マジでこのゲーム。なに
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Oh, title.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Oh, なんだこれ?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
俺だってか、このスタート地点だよな、これが。ゲーム冒頭のオフィスの OK です。あ、デバッグルーム的な？はいはいはい。オブジェクトね。あ、オブジェクトだ。あったもんな、これも。キーボードのタイピングの鎮静な音もいいじゃん。オフィス。クレジッツ。こっちはザ・オフィス。初期バージョンのメンテナンスルーム。はいはい。面白い。これ見ちゃダメじゃね序盤に。開発初期の段階ではスタンリーが戦場でエイリアンと戦うエンディングを構成。全然違うな。アクションゲームに愛好きやめばえ、ナネタに対抗するから、これ。まあそうだよね。シューキングゲームが好きな人をバカにしていると感じた人もいました。あ、FPS だからってこと？いろんな開発秘話が。第2弾トレーラー公開なと命令られたっての質問。はい。募集しました。当初はこのメールをプロモーションに利用するつもりでしたが、いい使い道を見つかりませんでした。一部ご紹介します。見れな。from subject a question brought forth a passion of my soul. I'm Stanley. Are you? 式番ラウンジ。G オフィス。そうなんだ。カーゴリフトはもともとそのまま進むか。そうなんだ。はいはいはい。 ミーティングルーム。うん。まあ確かに1番だよね、今。これは4番目の番最終番で、あいつのたら道から作りの通じゃ。これなんだよ。わからないこともあんだ。プレイヤーがメニューからリスタートした時だけ迎えられるエンディングがありました。はは、まあ確かにね。Z エンディング。怖っ。つない2号一緒にした。初期バージョンのカウントダウンルーム。あれね。はいはい。ベラフリーダムエンディング。合流した？右行ったのなの？すげえ量だな。最初に来るべきじゃなかったかもしれん。最初の方に。上司のオフィス。オフィスクローク。地下施設。エンプロイラウンジ。流れているな。あ、これクリックしたら長いのか。こっちはアルファ版か。あで合流ね。まあ、出ようかじゃあ。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
オフにして。
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking.
クイットを押すっていう選択か。初めてどうなの？最初から？最初からか。まあやめようかな、とりあえず。面白かったね。まあまたやると思うけど、いろんなエンディングあるんで、見えなかったやつ回収してきてえな、今度。まあ今度アマル塾に行こう。なんか最後で、オンオフ、マインド、オンオフエンドで、マインドオンにするエンドを見てないね、正規だと。そこもじゃあ次回見ていきましょう。じゃあ、見てくれてありがとうございました。